My name is Sophia Harper. I'm 31. Last Saturday night at 7:47 p.m., I stood at the entrance of the Willow Room restaurant, watching my Aunt Karen tell the hostess that there wasn't room for me at my own grandmother's 82nd birthday dinner. Sophia, sweetie, this table is for family, she said, loud enough for all 30 guests to hear. Why don't you find yourself a spot at the bar? Her hand was on my grandmother's shoulder like she owned her. Like she owned everything. I smiled. Because 26 years ago, she took everything from me. And tonight, I was taking it back. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 26 years to the last good day of my childhood. I was 5 years old, sitting in my mother's lap in our backyard on a Sunday afternoon in June. She smelled like vanilla and coffee. My father was grilling hamburgers, and the smoke made everything hazy and perfect. My mother pressed her lips to my hair and whispered, "No matter what happens, little star, you are always loved, always protected. Do you understand?" I nodded, not understanding at all. 3 hours later, a drunk driver ran a red light on Highway 9. My parents died instantly. I became an orphan at 5:32 p.m. on June 14th, 1999. My Uncle Michael and Aunt Karen took me in. I remember the funeral. I wore a black dress that was too big. Karen kept adjusting it, pulling at the collar. "We'll take care of you," she said. "Family takes care of family." I believed her. I was 5. I had no one else. For the first few years, it was okay. Not good, but okay. Then I turned 10, and things changed. Karen started making comments, little cuts that bled slow. "Your mother would be so disappointed," she'd say when I spilled milk. "Your father worked so hard, and this is how you repay him?" I didn't understand. Repay him for what? For dying? When I turned 16, I got my first job at Miller's Grocery, stocking shelves for $7.85 an hour. I worked Tuesday and Thursday nights, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., and all day Saturday. Karen told everyone I was difficult and needed to learn responsibility. What she didn't tell them was that she made me buy my own school supplies, my own clothes, my own everything. My cousin Ethan, who was 2 years older, got a new car for his 16th birthday. I got a lecture about gratitude. One night when I was 17, I asked about college. We were eating dinner, meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Karen set down her fork slowly. "College?" she repeated. The word sounded obscene in her mouth. "Sophia, sweetie, let's be realistic. Your parents didn't leave you anything. We've fed you, clothed you, given you a roof. That's more than most orphans get." She picked up her fork again. "Besides, Ethan's tuition at Georgetown is $54,000 a year. We simply can't afford two." My uncle said nothing. He never did. I applied to the community college nursing program on my own. Federal loans. I worked full-time at Miller's and went to school full-time. I studied in the stockroom during breaks, sitting on boxes of cereal at 2 a.m. I graduated at 24. I got my RN license. I got a job at Willow Creek Community Hospital making $28.50 an hour. I worked 12-hour shifts 3 days a week, sometimes 4. I saved every penny I could. Karen's response to my success? Well, nursing is nice for girls who can't get into real medical school. But the worst moment came 2 years ago. I was 29. I'd just finished a double shift, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., 16 hours straight. A 5-year-old had coded in the ER. We got him back, but barely. I was shaking as I drove to my apartment. My phone rang at 11:43 p.m. It was Karen. "Sophia, I need you to understand something." Her voice was cold, controlled. "Your grandmother has been asking questions about your parents, about money. I want you to know that if you say anything to upset her, if you plant any seeds of doubt, you will regret it. Do you understand me? What are you talking about? I asked. My hands were shaking. What money? Don't play stupid, Sophia. It doesn't suit you. She hung up. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot for 40 minutes. What money? My parents didn't leave me anything. Karen had said so 100 times, 1,000 times. I was the charity case, the burden, the orphan they generously took in. But something in her voice that night, something sharp and desperate. 2 weeks later, I drove to my grandmother's house. Grandma Evelyn lived alone in the same white colonial she'd lived in for 60 years on Maple Street with the big oak tree out front. She was 80 years old, sharp as a blade, and she looked at me like she'd been waiting. "Come in, little star," she said. She was the only one who still used my mother's nickname for me. "We need to talk." She made tea. Earl Grey, 2 sugars, the way my mother used to make it. We sat in her living room, and she pulled out a manila folder. "Your Aunt Karen called me last week," Grandma Evelyn said. "She was very concerned that I might say something to upset you. She wanted to make sure I understood how fragile you are." She opened the folder. That's when I knew it was time. Inside were bank statements, trust fund documents, legal papers with my father's signature, my mother's signature. Dated June 10th, 1999, 4 days before they died. "Your parents left you $600,000, my grandmother said quietly. A trust fund. Your Uncle Michael and Aunt Karen were named custodial trustees until you turned 25. The money was supposed to be used for your care, your education, your future. It was supposed to be yours." I stared at the papers. The numbers didn't make sense. "I turned 25 4 years ago." "I know. Where's the money?" My grandmother's hand shook as she turned the page. Bank statements. Withdrawals. $8,000 on August 15th, 2003. $12,000 on January 3rd, 2004. $18,000 on September 22nd, 2005. The withdrawals went on and on. Page after page. Year after year. Ethan's tuition, Olivia's car, home renovations, a boat, a timeshare in Florida, vacations to Europe. The final balance, dated 3 months after my 25th birthday, $4,200. Out of $600,000. $4,200. I read it 3 times. The numbers didn't change. "They stole it," I whispered. "They stole everything." "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't know." My grandmother's voice cracked. "Your Uncle Michael handled everything. I trusted him. I'm so sorry, Sophia. I'm so sorry." I should have cried. I should have screamed. Instead, I felt nothing. Just cold. Just hollow. "What do I do?" I asked. My grandmother closed the folder. "You fight, and I help you. I've already spoken to a lawyer. His name is David Pritchard. He specializes in trust fund fraud." She handed me a business card. "He says you have a case, a strong case." I looked at the card. David Pritchard, attorney at law, Northwest 23rd Avenue. "They'll deny it." "Of course they will. That's why we gather evidence first. That's why we wait for the right moment." My grandmother's eyes were hard. "Your mother was my daughter. They stole from her child. From my grandchild. We will not let them get away with this." Over the next 18 months, my grandmother and I worked in secret. David Pritchard requested documents, filed motions, built the case. We found more evidence than we needed. Michael had been sloppy. Karen had been confident. They never thought anyone would check. During this time, Karen continued to play her role. The martyr. The saint who took in the orphan. At a family barbecue 6 months ago, she told a story about how I'd stolen $40 from her purse when I was 12. I hadn't. I'd never stolen anything in my life. But everyone nodded sympathetically. Poor Karen. Such a burden she'd carried. I said nothing. I smiled. I waited. 3 months ago, the worst public humiliation happened. I was at the hospital, end of a shift, checking out at the nurse's station. It was 7:18 p.m. on a Tuesday. Karen walked into the ER waiting room. She saw me through the glass partition. She marched up to the desk. "Sophia Harper!" she called out. Loud, sharp. 6 nurses turned, 2 doctors, a security guard. "I need to speak with you, now." "I'm working," I said calmly. "This can't wait." She turned to the head nurse, Margaret, who'd been my mentor for 5 years. "Did you know that Sophia's family has been supporting her since she was 5 years old? And now she's trying to sue us. Sue us! After everything we've done for her." My face burned. Margaret's expression went carefully neutral. The other nurses stared. "That's not—" I started. "We took you in when no one else would," Karen continued. Her voice broke perfectly, right on cue. "We fed you, clothed you, paid for everything. And this is how you repay us?" She pressed a hand to her chest. Her eyes filled with tears. "I try so hard, Sophia. I've always tried so hard." I felt everyone watching, judging, deciding. "I understand you're upset," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. Something inside me had gone hard and cold. "But this isn't the place." Karen's tears dried instantly. "You're right. This isn't the place. The courtroom is the place. See you there." She turned and walked out. The silence after she left was deafening. Margaret touched my shoulder. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," I lied. "Everything's fine." But something had clicked. Karen thought she'd humiliated me. She thought she'd turned my colleagues against me. She'd miscalculated. Because now I wasn't just angry. I was ready. 2 weeks later, I received a certified letter at my apartment. It was from Michael and Karen's lawyer, a settlement offer. They would give me $25,000 to drop the lawsuit and sign a non-disclosure agreement. $25,000 out of $600,000. I called David Pritchard. "They're scared," he said. "This is good. Don't respond yet." "What are we waiting for?" "The right moment. Your grandmother will know." The right moment came last week. My grandmother's 82nd birthday. She'd planned it months in advance. A dinner at the Willow Room, the nicest restaurant in town. 30 guests, all family. She'd insisted on specific seating arrangements. She'd hired a photographer. She'd written her speech. "This is it," she told me 3 days before. "This is when we tell the truth." "Are you sure?" I asked. "It's your birthday. It should be about you." "It is about me." Her voice was steel. "They stole from my daughter's child. They need to answer for that. In front of everyone." So last Saturday night, I drove to the Willow Room. I wore a simple navy dress, the nicest thing I owned. I arrived at 7:45 p.m. At 2 minutes late because I'd circled the block 3 times, trying to calm my breathing. The restaurant was beautiful, candlelight, white tablecloths, a long table set for 30 in the private dining room. I saw my family through the window: Uncle Michael, Aunt Karen, Ethan and his wife, Olivia and her boyfriend, cousins I barely knew, friends of my grandmother. I walked inside. The hostess smiled. "Name?" "Sophia Harper." Before she could check the list, Karen appeared. She looked perfect. Black dress, pearl necklace, hair in a flawless updo. She looked at me like I was a stain. "Sophia," she said, not warmly. "I didn't realize you were coming." "Grandma invited me." "Yes, well." Karen glanced at the dining room. "The thing is, sweetie, we're a bit tight on space. The table is really set for family, close family. Maybe you could eat at the bar? I'm sure Grandma would understand." I felt my pulse in my teeth. Around us, people were watching. The hostess looked uncomfortable. A waiter paused mid-step. "Sophia, sweetie, this table is for family," Karen said again, louder now. Her hand was on my arm, steering me toward the bar. "Why don't you find yourself a spot over there? We'll catch up later." I smiled. "No, thank you." Her grip tightened. "I'm sorry?" I said no, thank you. "Grandma invited me to the dinner table, so that's where I'll be." Karen's face flushed. "Don't make a scene." "I'm not making a scene. I'm joining my family for my grandmother's birthday." "Your family?" Karen's voice dropped to a hiss. "Sophia, let's not pretend. You're not really family, you know that. Deep down, you've always known that." There it was. The thing she'd been saying in 100 different ways for 26 years. "You're not really family." "Okay," I said calmly. Karen blinked. "Okay?" "Yes, okay." I walked past her into the dining room. My grandmother was seated at the head of the table. When she saw me, her whole face lit up. "Sophia, there you are!" She gestured to the empty seat on her right. "I saved you the best spot." I sat down. Karen stood in the doorway, fury radiating from her like heat. Michael looked confused. Ethan and Olivia exchanged glances. Dinner was served: Caesar salad, filet mignon, roasted vegetables. Conversation flowed around me. I barely tasted anything. My heart was hammering. At 8:47 p.m., my grandmother stood. She tapped her wineglass with a fork. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for being here," she began. 82 years. I never thought I'd make it this long." Light laughter. "But I'm grateful. Grateful for all of you. Grateful for this beautiful family." She paused. Her eyes met mine. "Tonight, I want to talk about something important. Something I should have addressed a long time ago." She reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. The same manila folder from 18 months ago. "This is about truth and consequences." Karen's smile froze. "Mom, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time." My grandmother opened the folder. 26 years ago, my daughter Emily and her husband Daniel died in a car accident. They left behind a 5-year-old daughter, my granddaughter, Sophia. She looked at me. They also left her $600,000 in a trust fund. Money meant for her education, her future, her life. The room went completely silent. You could hear ice shifting in water glasses. Michael and Karen were named custodial trustees. They were supposed to manage the money until Sophia turned 25. They were supposed to take care of her. My grandmother's voice was steady, hard. Instead, they stole it. All of it. $595,800 over 18 years. For their own children's tuition, for cars and vacations and home renovations. For themselves. Karen shot to her feet. "That is not true. Mom, I don't know who's been feeding you these lies, but—" "These aren't lies." My grandmother held up a bank statement. "These are documents. Signed by you. Transactions authorized by you. Withdrawals made by you." She turned to the room. "All of you have heard Karen talk about what a burden Sophia was, how much they sacrificed, but they didn't sacrifice anything. They lived off a dead woman's legacy. They stole from an orphaned child." Uncle Michael's face had gone gray. "Evelyn, please, we can discuss this privately." "We've discussed it privately for 26 years. Now we discuss it publicly." "You don't understand," Karen said. Her voice was shaking. "We had expenses. Raising 3 children is expensive. We did our best. Raising 3 children?" My grandmother's eyes were ice. "You raised 2. Sophia raised herself. She worked at a grocery store from age 16 to pay for school supplies. She took out federal loans for community college. She worked 12-hour shifts to survive, while you spent her inheritance on a timeshare in Florida." Ethan stood up. "Grandma, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Sit down, Ethan. You went to Georgetown. $216,000 for 4 years. Every penny came from Sophia's trust fund." My grandmother turned to Olivia. "You got a $35,000 BMW for your 18th birthday, also from the trust." Olivia went pale. David Pritchard stepped out from where he'd been standing in the back of the room. I hadn't even seen him arrive. Mrs. Karen Harper, I'm David Pritchard, attorney for Sophia Harper. I've filed a lawsuit against you and your husband for breach of fiduciary duty, embezzlement, and fraud. These documents, he placed a stack of papers on the table, detail every illegal withdrawal made from Sophia's trust over the past 26 years. Karen's mouth opened and closed. This is insane. We use that money for Sophia, for her food, her clothing, her housing. Show me receipts, David said calmly. Show me proof. Show me one expense directly related to Sophia's care beyond basic necessities required by law. Silence. You can't, because there are none. The money went to your biological children, your house, your lifestyle. David looked around the room. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is theft, plain and simple. Sophia, Karen turned to me, tears streaming down her face now. Real ones, I think. Please, you know we love you. You know we did our best. We made mistakes, yes, but we were trying. We were just trying. Everyone looked at me, waiting. I stood up slowly. My legs felt like water, but my voice was steady. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for truth. My parents died when I was 5 years old. They left me money so I'd be taken care of, so I could go to college, so I could have a future. You took that from me. You took everything. I looked at Karen, at Michael, and you made me feel guilty for existing. That's not fair, Michael said quietly. Fair? I pulled out a piece of paper from my own folder. This is my work schedule from when I was 17. Tuesday and Thursday nights, 6 p.m. to Jedinest p.m., all day Saturday. I was working 20 hours a week while taking AP classes because you told me we couldn't afford college. Meanwhile, you were withdrawing $18,000 for a kitchen renovation. I placed the paper on the table, then another, and another. Pay stubs from Miller's Grocery, student loan statements totaling $47,000, tax returns showing I've never received a penny of support from you since I turned 18. I looked around the room. I worked 16-hour shifts at Willow Creek Community Hospital. I saved lives. I paid my own way. I did everything you said I had to do to earn my place in this world. My voice cracked, just slightly. But I didn't have to earn anything. It was already mine. You stole it. Karen was sobbing now, mascara running down her face. We're family. Family forgives. You said I wasn't really family, I said quietly. 20 minutes ago, at the door. You said I wasn't really family. She froze. You said that in front of witnesses. I gestured to the hostess, who was standing nervously in the doorway. You tried to send me to the bar so I wouldn't be at the family table, because that's what you've always done. Kept me on the outside. Made me feel like I didn't belong, like I owed you something. I picked up my purse. I don't owe you anything. I never did. David placed a business card on the table in front of Karen and Michael. My office will be in touch regarding the lawsuit. We're seeking full restitution of the misappropriated funds plus interest, which totals $847,000. We're also reporting this to the State Bar Association and the District Attorney's Office for potential criminal charges. Michael's head dropped into his hands. I didn't want this, I said to the room. I just wanted answers. I wanted to know why I wasn't worth loving, why I wasn't worth protecting. I looked at my grandmother. Thank you for protecting me now. She stood and took my hand. You are always worth it, little star. And we walked out together. Behind us, chaos erupted, voices yelling, chairs scraping. Someone said, I can't believe this. Someone else said, all this time. In the parking lot, I finally broke down. My grandmother held me while I cried. It's over, she whispered. It's finally over. But it wasn't. Not quite. 3 weeks later, David called me. They want to settle. For how much? Full restitution, $847,000, plus a written admission of wrongdoing, and they drop all contact with you permanently. I was silent for a long moment. What about criminal charges? The DA is reviewing the case. That's separate from the civil suit, but between you and me, they're looking at 5 to 10 years. I should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. One more thing, David said. Your grandmother wants to add you to her will. Her estate is worth about $1.2 million. She wants you to have it all. I can't take that from the rest of the family. She doesn't consider them family anymore. Her words. I drove to my grandmother's house that night. She was sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. You don't have to give me anything, I said. I know, but I want to. Your mother would have wanted to. She patted the seat next to her. Besides, I have a selfish reason. I want to see you happy before I go. I want to see you build the life they stole from you. I don't know if I can forgive them. You don't have to. Forgiveness is optional. Freedom isn't. 6 months later, the settlement was finalized. $847,000 deposited into my account. Karen and Michael sold their house to pay it. Ethan and Olivia both called me, crying, apologizing. I didn't answer. Maybe someday I will, maybe not. I paid off my student loans, all $47,000. I bought a small house with a blue door and a garden in the back. I adopted a cat. I named her Star. I still work at Willow Creek Community Hospital. I still work 12-hour shifts. But now I'm working because I choose to, not because I have to. I'm starting a scholarship fund for orphan children pursuing nursing degrees. I'm calling it the Emily and Daniel Harper Memorial Scholarship. The first award will be $10,000. It's not much, but it's a start. My grandmother died 2 months ago, peacefully, in her sleep. She was 82 years old. At the funeral, Karen tried to approach me. I walked away. Michael stood at a distance, crying. I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, just the quiet certainty that I'd done what my mother would have wanted me to do. I stood the truth. If you're watching this, and you've ever been told you're a burden, that you should be grateful for scraps, that you're not really family, type, I am enough in the comments. Because you are. You always were. Or if you're still fighting for what's yours, type, I'm still fighting. Both are brave. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. I visited my parents' graves last week. I brought flowers. I told them about the house, about Star, about the scholarship. I told them I finally understood what my mother meant that day in the backyard. You are always loved, always protected. I am, I was, I always will be. I always